Rasmus Højlund been in the top 10 players in Europe so far, of course. He has followed a trend of players leaving Manchester United and certainly improving on the performances we saw at Old Trafford. Rashford, McTominay and Antony. Questions now as to if the likes of maybe Mainoo could make that move from Manchester United and improve. Steve, I remember when Mainoo, this was all leading...
There's another one, by the way, and it's slightly different circumstances.
Onana?
No, it's slightly different circumstances. Well, no, slightly. A lot different circumstances. Mason Greenwood.
Right.
The circumstances are different, obviously,
Yes.
because there was legal issues and stuff that I don't want to get into. But he, I think he's playing in France now. But when he went to Spain, he looked on fire, and I think he's pretty much doing the same in France, so you could chuck him in there as well.
Going back to Mainoo, Stevie, when he kind of came onto the scene, there was a lot of excitement, of course, came in and played for England.
Yep.
What's happened?
Well, I'll tell you what's happened is, in my opinion, Mainoo is great with the ball at his feet, but when the opposition have the ball, he doesn't do enough. In fact, he doesn't do anything. He, in my opinion, doesn't stop anybody getting at Man United's back four. And the fact that that's one of the biggest problems United have, and this guy still can't get a game, he still can't figure it out, and he's sometimes not even in the squad. It's not that he's not even on the bench. Sometimes he's not even in the squad. So I think basically he's been found out, because at the end of the day, when you play with the top clubs and you want to be challenging, your players have to be able to contribute on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. And if there's one thing, unfortunately, Mainoo doesn't do, he does not contribute defensively. And the fact that Casemiro is starting over him consistently tells you that there's a problem. There's a problem. The kid's not as good as we thought he was when he burst onto the scene. And a Man United team that are desperate, but yet this guy still can't get a game ahead of Casemiro in particular, tells you that he's not as good as we think he is.
But isn't this the case, like, with more than just Kobbie Mainoo, and not just this club, is that he's clearly a talented player on the ball, right?
He played the final of the Euros.
We've seen this.
Yeah.
We've seen it as a teenager. He's 20 years old now. He's still a young man. Isn't this a case of taking that talent and working with him and trying to help him about the defensive aspects of his game? I'm sure Casemiro, I'm not comparing the two, right? And I'm not comparing any defensive midfielder. But anybody at 20, generally in that position, is a bit wet behind the ears, letting a runner go here or there, or being out of position. Surely you work with that. Surely you go in and you go, man, this guy can play. Because you play a Garty, you roll the ball into him, he can't pass it. He might be able to track a runner, but he can't pass it. So why, it seems to me that Ruben Amorim has gone in, and anybody he just doesn't like, or doesn't fancy, he doesn't seem to want to work with them to make them better. He just chucks the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
It seems interesting, your choice of words, work with him.
Yeah.
Because it looks like the work rate on that side isn't there. Which is what any coach who has a player who he thinks isn't given the role will quickly, when it comes to having to play either one guy or another, that guy's getting shoved away. And the fact that you're talking about him playing for England in the Euros, probably because he got covered up, because he didn't have to do as much defending because he was playing in a team that actually just suited what he was good at, and that part of his game was covered up by others. But at United, nobody's covering anything up for anybody else at United. And so, if you're the coach of United and you're watching Mainoo, time after time, letting people run off them, and not looking as though it's hurting you to let people run off you, looking as though you're not that bothered about it, you're going to the bottom of the pile.
So are we having a different conversation we are about Mainoo than the others that we mentioned, the Antonys, the Rashfords, the McTominays, the Højlunds?
I don't think we should lump them all together, to be honest. I think they're a problem. They all individually had a problem.
No, but what I'm saying, they've excelled to a point since they'd left, yes?
Well,
what you're talking about, Mainoo, is his problems more than just Manchester United?
Right now, while he's at Man United, right, and whilst the manager is still there right now, then he's got no chance.
No, I know that. But if he leaves Manchester United, Will we see a different
But
player?
has anybody said Kobbie Mainoo's... I've not read publicly somebody at Man United saying Kobbie Mainoo's attitude's a problem.
Oh, no, Stevie seems to...
But you seem to
No,
think...
I'm not saying his attitude's a problem. I'm telling you that if the coach... If I'm
The
coaching
man
a
who doesn't
team...
like being negative about
If I'm coaching a team and there's somebody in my team who I know on the ball is fantastic, but who doesn't seem to care as much about going the other way, you're going straight to the bottom of the pile. I'm going to put somebody who's not maybe as talented, but who I know is going to work hard. I mean, it's kind
So
of
you're saying
that
regardless of where he
straightforward.
is, he doesn't have it?
I would suggest that unless he can go somewhere, because right now he ain't playing at United. So if he goes somewhere and somebody, as Craig said, maybe spends more time with him and encourages him and isn't going to jump on him as quickly as Amorim has, then he might get better. I just don't see that part of his game ever being top class.
So the other players on that list, you know, the difference, forgetting Kobbie Mainoo as a sort of youngster who's still potentially got a long way to go in his career. You know, I'm never a big fan of Anthony at Man United, particularly the price tag and how he performed. But his work rate wasn't a disaster, not to my knowledge. Scott McTominay could never fault his work rate, and now he's been brilliant at Napoli. Rasmus Højlund could never fault his work rate. Now he's been short-term been magnificent in Italy, at Napoli. Marcus Rashford is the sort of one that sticks out. Right? Marcus Rashford was not poor at Man United like the others for what rate? Well, it was for what rate? The others were not. Mm-hmm. His was attitude. Right? I don't know about Kobbie Mainoo, but I can tell you about Marcus Rashford. He was pretty much disgraceful for quite some time. Now, you could argue till the cows come home whether Amorim and United handled it the right way. I don't know. Nobody was right. Both could have been sort of wrong. But it was staring you in the face, watching him, talking about letting people run off him, talking about no desire to do any defending. That was him. And the others just didn't perform, and they got a move, and it's kind of working out for them, but they tried at Man United. They put their shift in, and it just wasn't happening. Rashford, that wasn't the case with him. His was just up here in the brain. And so that's why he is a lucky boy to get the move that he has at this moment, and potentially taking it to another level.
What's the market for Mainoo, Jules?
It's a great question. Really, I think England would be difficult for him, also because I don't think United will let him go to another team that will compete with them at some point, you would think, for a top 5 finish or top 6 finish, something like that. Although we know that I think Chelsea were quite interested in the summer. They would want a lot of money for him because they also need money to balance their books, and he's a pure product of the academy. So whatever you sell him for is straight into profit on your bank account and on your books, which is very valuable right now, especially with PSR. I think he has to look abroad more than in England, really, and find the team, again, to go back to what the boys were saying, that plays on his strength. A team possession base, for sure, because that's what he's really good at, where his position would probably be as a 10 or close to a 10, close to a striker, because again, that's where he's good at, really. Deeper than that, I don't think he can, because like the boy said, he can't really run. His work rate is not there. He can't really turn either. He can't defend. The lack of mobility is pretty obvious for all of us to see, not just Amorim. It's just, it doesn't fit for this style and this system. But there's other things that he can do really well. So for me, La Liga would be perfect for him in a good team, obviously. But I think there's also a bit of interest in Italy, like for Zirkzee.
The return, of course, as Steve mentioned earlier in the show, the Premier League will see Manchester United take on Liverpool. Liverpool, of course, defending champions, have slipped up of late for Manchester United. They go into this clash. There's the bottom half of the table. One of those days.
There's the halfway there. None of them are...
there it is. That's good. No one wants to be in the bottom half of the table.
No.
Jules, what's the latest on Konate? Obviously won't play tomorrow.
Yeah, no, didn't obviously play for France on Friday. Won't be involved tomorrow either. He's back in Liverpool now for this kind of a little hamstring injury that he got in the last a league game with Liverpool, and again they were not too worried. I think to be fair, he could have come back to Liverpool a bit even earlier than what he did. But now he's there, and they're really hoping that he could be ready for the game on Sunday.